Greetings, Tezos Nation. Welcome to another edition of TezTalks Live. I'm Stu from the Tezos Commons. Joining me today is Dylan Haddam, Head of Partnerships at Magic. Magic, for those who might not know, is a leading wallet as a service provider that empowers businesses to harness the power of Web3 and simplify the user onboarding process. Magic has recently expanded its integration with the Tezos ecosystem to ensure full compatibility across its suite of products. On today's stream, we'll be giving away 25 Tez to one of our lucky viewers. If you'd like that lucky viewer to be you, keep an ear out for a keyword later on during this stream, then comment with the keyword below this video where it's posted by the @TezosCommons account on X. Hi, Dylan. Where are you right now, and how is the weather?
What's going on? Thank you for having me. Truly appreciate it. And I'm currently in New York City, and the weather is not that great, to be honest. I still need spring to come a little more quickly, even though we're only a few weeks away from summer. So we need a little bit of better weather here.
It's on its way. To get the ball rolling, can you tell us a little bit about your background and your personal journey into the exciting world of blockchain technology?
Yeah, absolutely. So prior to joining Magic, I was a serial entrepreneur. And first company I built was a marketing agency that worked with brands such as Audi, Airbnb, Amazon, and Spotify, collaborating with hundreds of freelancers. And this experience actually led me to launch a fintech company by the name of Archie to help businesses more seamlessly onboard, manage, and pay independent contractors. And I was really fortunate enough to conceptualize the business, bring the founding team together, raise venture money, and get the company off the ground. After some time, though, my interest in blockchain began to increase, and I started diving into this potential for verifying ownership of both physical and digital assets, which is, of course, useful across a multitude of applications. And after a certain point, I took a step back from the day-to-day operations of Archie and being an entrepreneur and really wanted to further explore my passion for the industry. And this fascination really ultimately led me to Magic, where I saw an opportunity to tackle the industry's biggest challenge, which is user onboarding.
Okay. And so, as you mentioned, that journey led you to becoming the head of partnerships at Magic, which, of course, is why you're here today. Um, can you talk a bit about what exactly a head of partnerships at Magic does? Like, what does your day-to-day look like?
Yeah, I love that question because titles are very funny because they are so convoluting. The DMs
Especially
that
Insta.
oh my God, everywhere. And the DMs that I get, hey, can we partner? I'm always thinking to myself, I don't know if we're speaking the same language. But, before even diving into the specific roles, I think the beauty of my role is that I get to collaborate with teams across product, design, CS, and leadership to really ultimately drive adoption of our products. And with that being said, my main role as the head of partnerships is really focusing on driving business via our channel and licensing partners. So to break that down a little bit more, channel partners can include consultancies like Deloitte, agencies like Publicis, blockchains, Web3 loyalty platforms, and then the licensing partners can include the likes of Wallet Connect, who use our SDK to allow for email login across their Web3 modal. On top of that, given certain relationships that I've been really fortunate to build in the industry, I get to work closely with direct clients as well. And that could be everyone from the Empire State Building to Even, which is a new music platform to help artists connect with fans, and 7-Eleven. So a lot of fun stuff that I get to work on.
Okay. And I introed Magic a little bit off the top there. But for those who might not be familiar just yet, how would you describe Magic and the products and services it offers?
Yeah, so we consider Magic to be the leading wallet as a service provider. And essentially, we are offering infrastructure and key management for creating wallet applications. So people essentially take our infrastructure to build their own wallets. And these wallets that our technology supports can either be consumer wallets, which are downloaded from the App Store, such as Croesus, or white labeled wallets that Mattel has created where a user doesn't even know that they're interacting with a wallet. And the beauty of our infrastructure is that we're able to abstract away all the complexities of Web3. So users who are creating wallets can do so with standard Web2 logins, and they don't have to worry about storing their private keys in their sock drawer or downloading crazy plugins.
Okay. And I understand from looking at your website that Magic has been used by over 170,000 developers and has successfully created over 25 million crypto wallets. So, what is it about Magic that has given it that level of appeal?
Yeah, so it really stems from two main components, which is developer experience and technology. And that ultimately ladders up to becoming a trusted brand. So, on our developer experience, our SDK is very easy to get set up and it's extremely intuitive. On top of that, we also support a variety of platforms across web and mobile, and also support a ton of blockchains, including, of course, Tezos. Second to that is really having proven technology. And so our infrastructure, it's scalable. We're able to support millions of users and creating thousands of wallets per second, which of course is incredibly important as we onboard more people. On top of that, really secure. So SOC 2 Type 2, ISO, HIPAA, and CCPA attestations. And then, of course, that all lends itself to the most important part, which is really being a trusted brand. We've built a trusted brand through hard work, solid products, and really a commitment to making sure that our customers are getting best in class products. And we've done so without really gimmicking marketing campaigns or ever in the history of Magic having to pay for a client endorsement or for a client to use our product.
Okay. And from a sort of user base growth perspective, why is streamlining the onboarding process to bring new users into the blockchain ecosystem a priority in the blockchain space?
I'm laughing because that's literally a podcast episode in itself,
Of
but
course.
I'll break that down. So for starters, it's imperative to streamline the onboarding process to increase user adoption. Plain and simple. The complexities of performing any interaction on chain, it's daunting and it deters a lot of potential users. And so without an easy onboarding process, we really risk hindering any network effects, as every new user is facing the same hurdles of getting onboarded. Number two is it creates a better user experience. And so let's be honest with ourselves. As an industry, we already have an uphill battle to climb when it regards to how we're perceived. Once we can show people why our philosophies and technology make sense on paper, the idea of getting users essentially to relearn how to use the internet, signing transactions, approving messages is another barrier. So, by providing these intuitive interfaces, clear instructions, user friendly designs, we can ultimately demystify what we're doing here for new users. And third is it really helps with trust and security. While a lot of what we do is very intuitive to industry experts, what we really need is clear and straightforward processes to help users avoid mistakes such as losing private keys or falling for scams. And this in turn enhances overall security and makes blockchain technology more accessible and user friendly for everyone.
Okay. And providing those processes, as you put it, um, to the end of accomplishing that. As I mentioned earlier, we've recently seen the rollout of an expansion of Magic's Tezos integration. So can you talk a bit about what exactly that expansion means from a practical standpoint?
Yeah, absolutely. So the recent expansion of the integration, first and foremost, it just brings significant practical benefits. So first and foremost, developers, they will find fewer manual steps that are required to configure Tezos when you're using Magic's SDK. This obviously means for a way more seamless and efficient development process that saves time and it saves resources. Additionally, this expansion it introduces easier tooling and demos to assist developers, even those starting from scratch. And so, by simplifying the onboarding and integration process, we ultimately are helping to make it more accessible for developers to really leverage the power of Tezos within their applications.
Okay, and obviously, like we can all understand the appeal of simplifying that process and making it more accessible. And as we're moving towards accomplishing that through this partnership, I'm curious about the relationship between the Magic team and the Tezos ecosystem. Like, how has that relationship taken shape? What is the interaction between the two entities look like?
Yeah. Wow, this is actually when I do these interviews, sometimes these questions they're so abstract and I'm like, "Oh god, where am I going to take this answer?" This one's actually pretty straightforward. I have to give a lot of credit to Adam Nichols who's on our team and he really helped build a direct relationship with Tezos and help build new introductions between your team and ours, whether it be on the product side, on the marketing side, on the end side, and really at the end of the day, both of our visions include building tools to interface with each other more frictionlessly across a decentralized internet. And so whatever we can do to support each other to get closer to that state helps to create great introductions and really a deeper relationship, and that's ultimately what we've been able to do with one another. So there's kind of no rocket science between it. It's shared values, it's great technology, and it works as a partnership.
Okay. And I can again the appeal of a simplified onboarding process from the perspective of the Tezos ecosystem is quite easy to understand. Um, but why is integrating Magic and a blockchain's ecosystem like we have here in Tezos a priority from the perspective of your team?
That's another layup of a question, which I'm very happy about. It's actually pretty straightforward. I would say number one is Tezos is a well established player in the industry, robust infrastructure, actively upgrading its systems, global institution support, a thriving ecosystem. You don't have that across the industry. That takes a very long time to develop, and Tezos has been able to do that. And those qualities and those partnerships and that dedication, it perfectly aligns with what we're trying to do at Magic. And so really by integrating Tezos, we're ensuring to our clients that we have access to best in class infrastructure, blockchains being infrastructure and Tezos being one of those blockchains.
Okay. Um, and from the perspective, like obviously, again, very appealing from the perspective of the Tezos ecosystem as a whole. I can understand why it's appealing for your team to integrate with us. But from the perspective of DApp developers, who these tools are obviously geared towards, um, can you talk about the specific roadblocks for DApp development and rollout that Magic can help developers overcome?
Okay, now we're getting into the difficult questions because there's a ton of roadblocks when it comes to building on chain, but we do now have more solutions to that. And so at Magic, we can really speak to the onboarding piece of that. And so one of the main challenges is really the need to integrate Web 2 concepts like authentication into dApps. Not everyone, again, is totally used to getting a MetaMask and storing their private keys. And so it's essential to provide a user friendly experience But before you have the likes of Magic in the space, that's very time consuming and complex. And so we help with that. Magic then simplifies this by combining auth and wallet provisioning into one seamless solution. And so this not only streamlines the onboarding process for users, but it now helps streamline the process for developers who really want to focus on building and improving their dApps, not necessarily all the minute intricacies that comes with the infrastructure side of it. And if you can do that, of course, you can free up developers' time and allow them to focus on building better applications and not have to worry about the infrastructure, which is what we want to focus on to help make them free up their time. And ultimately, you free up their time, you get better applications, and you can onboard better and new users.
Okay. Makes perfect sense. And as far as the integration itself, is Magic's expanded Tezos integration fully rolled out and functional at this point?
Live, 100%.
Okay.
Go to Magic's developer docs. You'll see a blockchain section. You'll see featured chains, and we've got Tezos right up there.
Okay. This is all great stuff so far. I'm excited to learn more. But before we dive into the nitty gritty, are you ready for the world famous TezTalks lightning round?
I'm going to take one more sip and then we're going to do it.
That's fair.
Okay, let's go.
Great. Just before we do that, I'd like to announce today's keyword for the 25 Tez we're giving away today. Today's keyword is !magic. Enter the keyword !magic below this video on X, and Nightbot will randomly select today's winner, who will announce in the comments below this video on X as well. Okay, now Dylan, it's lightning round time. Remember, there are no wrong answers. This is just for fun, so our viewers can get to know you a little bit better. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Pizza or sushi?
Sushi.
Movies or video games?
Movies.
Is this real life, or are we in a simulation?
Up until recently, I would have said real life, but someone new in my life has me thinking otherwise. So I can't answer that right now.
All right. Well, hopefully you'll figure it out soon. True or false? Money buys happiness.
Not a question for a lightning round. I'm going to approach this question with care. Personally, I've never been in a position where I've had to worry about my next meal or where I'm going to lay my head at night. And in such circumstances, I can imagine that having money would provide a sense of security, which could lead to a higher level of happiness. However, I do believe that the level of happiness that money buys can have a ceiling. And so financial security obviously is crucial, but true happiness comes from other sources. It comes from community, family, hobbies, mindfulness. And so happiness, it's a complex interplay of factors, and money can contribute to it, but it's not the sole determining factor. So without a combination of those elements, no amount of money in the world can guarantee happiness.
Okay, I'm going to call that one false with an asterisk.
There we go.
Name one thing you absolutely want to do before you die.
Eliminate all fear from my life.
Wow, that's a great answer. The last place you traveled was?
California.
Lovely. In 5 words or less, how would your best friend describe you?
Loyal and empathetic.
Okay. And finally, what is your favorite thing to do on a rainy day?
I like to go to the lobby of the Hoxton Hotel and read a book.
Okay. Very nice. Excellent answers. This concludes the TezTalks lightning round. Let's get back into it. So now that we've spoken about Magic's expanded Tezos integration and what it means, I'd like to zoom out a little bit and talk more broadly about sort of the state of blockchain technology and how that tech and the messaging about it are reaching users and potential users. Obviously, there were some important bottlenecks in these systems that Magic was designed to address, namely wallet creation and user verification, as you've described. What bottlenecks still need to be overcome in the sort of quest to bring blockchain tech into the mainstream from your perspective?
The reality is there's a significant lack of understanding among potential users. Many individuals, they still lack the fundamental knowledge of blockchain technology and its benefits, which I actually don't necessarily blame them for. Anything that goes viral on crypto Twitter, which then leads to mass media attention, really focuses on the casino side of blockchain versus the computer, as Chris Dixon discusses in his book. I genuinely believe it's essential for the industry to come together and create our own version of the iconic Got Milk campaign from the early 90s. The campaign from the 90s, of course, meant to get people to drink more milk with very simple and engaging messaging. And so this campaign that we could do would really help simplify and humanize the messaging around blockchain tech and try to make it more relatable and accessible to the general public. So you can strategically use media, tap into culture, and employ a effective problem solution approach where I think we can reshape the narrative around blockchain and increase understanding to the broader population. And ultimately, it's not about selling a product, it's just reestablishing a narrative around this technology. And so, similar to the Got Milk campaign, which achieved incredible awareness around milk and the benefits around drinking it, a similar campaign could have a profound impact on mainstream adoption.
Okay, and as far as establishing that narrative as you're describing it goes, like obviously, we could talk all day about the infrastructure of Tezos as a blockchain ecosystem, and about blockchain infrastructure more broadly. But I 100% agree with you. I've always believed that most people who have the opportunity to interact with blockchain as users don't really care about that stuff. They're much more interested in how that infrastructure is applied, which is why a tool like Magic is so important to sort of growing the user base. So can you talk a bit about why blockchain applications are so important to helping blockchain sort of reach its promise as like a game changing and revolutionary technology?
Yeah. I've been trying to work out this new analogy. So let's see if I could play it in here. Infrastructure is invisible without any applications that are built on top of it. So, unless we're building applications that are built on top of infrastructure, to me, it's kind of like having a city with commercial buildings, but sewage plants or running water aren't there. It's not livable. So, when people come into new technology, or if we keep going with this analogy, for a city to thrive, you need to have the basic necessities. You've got to have a city that has parks, schools, paved roads, recreation centers. And so to bring that back to the blockchain, we need applications that people can log into and experience things like interoperability and digital ownership, global access to financial tools with the removal of intermediaries. And so, yeah, applications are incredibly important and really are everything. And if we don't have that, then the infrastructure has not a lot of legs to it.
Okay. So in your analogy, essentially like layer one is like the basic stuff that governments do, and the applications are the things that people interact, as you say, like a community center, like a police department, like a
I
commercial
think
building.
so. I'm still working on that one, but I think that's it.
I'm with you. So as far as those applications go, like what types of applications do you expect to have sort of the biggest impact in terms of bringing that infrastructure and bringing blockchain into people's lives?
When I think about the blockchain industry, I actually try not to think with too grandiose of a vision. And so in this case, biggest to me is a little too hard for a user to understand. And on top of that, it's just going to take too long to actually build. So I like to think instead of the most grandiose impact, the biggest impact, I like to focus on immediate opportunities that the masses can engage with. So, number one is simple games or toys that have an online component, which I see Pudgy Penguins doing a fantastic thing with. So, Pudgy Penguins, they release their physical toys. You know, you can buy them at Walmart, you can buy them at Target and other major retailers, and attached to each toy is a QR code. Very simple. And that links that toy to a digital collectible, which helps unlock exclusive digital features and collectibles. And throughout this entire experience, there is no need for a user to know about the intricacies of blockchain and how it comes to life. They simply get the benefits. And so that's number one. Number two is digital fashion and putting fashion on chain, which I believe provides many benefits. So one of them proving ownership and portability. So, you know, with ownership, by putting your fashion on chain, ownership of this fashion can be easily proven. This can be used for demonstrating ownership online, even in a flexing capacity, which, let's be honest, people care about that. The other is interoperability. And so you take that physical fashion piece, you put it online. Now that on-chain fashion, it can be brought into different platforms and future metaverses, allowing people to take their digital wardrobe where they go. You've got proven scarcity. This now allows brands to protect their IP, and buyers can verify the authenticity of their purchase. And lastly, which I think is really, really cool, is really enhancing customer relationships and rewarding consumers. So, putting physical clothing on chain and tying it to a digital wallet, it allows brands to identify and engage with their customers directly. Brands can then use this data to offer personalized experiences and products, enhancing customer loyalty. This ultimately leads to deeper relationships and potential rewards. So when I go on a little bit of a tangent like that, I like to just like close it up with an example. So imagine buying a Yankees jersey from a retailer right now. Historically, only you and your friends know that you own it and your affiliation with the Yankees. The Yankees themselves don't even have that relationship. By verifying that ownership of a jersey on chain, the Yankees can now recognize you as a jersey owner, as a Yankees fan, and now help give you exclusive benefits such as early game tickets or special promotions. That is impossible to do without a blockchain.
Okay. And obviously, you know, all of that stuff is really cool, and it is a really interesting kind of gateway for people to just get a little taste of what blockchain is. But you touched on something earlier that I wanted to follow up on about, like, despite all of that, and despite the fact that these things exist and that they're being rolled out, there still seems to be some resistance from a large swath of the sort of global population. Why do you think people are remain resistant to becoming involved with blockchain technology?
It's a great question. I think there's a few examples or a few reasons. Number one is a lot of blockchain technology right now, from a consumer perspective, is focused on the casino. And it's kind of interesting because, at least in America, we have a fascination with gambling. We love to gamble on everything. But when it comes to crypto, people are like so totally against it. Um, People are also resistant because I don't think that we've given them applications that are not casino related. And the example that I shared earlier with the Yankees jersey, that's something that we really haven't seen mass adoption of yet. The media doesn't help as well. The media loves to get clickbaity headlines, and what's a better way to get readers to click on something that says your bored ape that was worth $400,000 is now worth $20,000? And so there's a multitude of factors that ultimately lead up to why people are resistant with technology, in this case, of course, blockchain. And ultimately, it's up to us as an industry to slowly chip away at applications that make sense for consumers without them even knowing that a blockchain is involved. And one thing I'll say is, could you imagine like if Instagram was rolled out today and instead of just saying it's an application to share photos with your friends, it was this is the newest technology that is built on X, Y, and Z rails, and the imagery that you take with those connected devices can get uploaded to the. It's like you lost me.
Mm.
You totally lost me. I don't care how it's done. I say this on every podcast. I just care about the benefits that I get with it.
Okay, so is overcoming that resistance simply a matter of developing applications like Instagram that people sort of can't live without? Or is there more we in the blockchain space could be doing to make the vision for this technology more appealing to the masses?
Yeah, there's a combination between what I've said over the past few minutes, which is number one, there has to be applications that are cool and can't be done without a blockchain. But at the same time, we also need to reinvent ourselves from a communications perspective. I believe the more challenging part will be reinventing ourselves from a communications perspective and becoming more friendly with the media. And that's going to be an uphill battle.
Okay. And as far as reinventing ourselves from a communications perspective goes, what's the message that we in the blockchain space should be transmitting to the world about this tech and what it represents?
You know, wow, that's a hard one. Number one, because blockchain sits across all different verticals. So depending on what vertical you work in, you kind of need to hear potentially a different message. I think for consumers, the idea of owning your identity across every platform that you go to is incredibly effective. And so right now, if you're a consumer and you've got an Instagram profile, you've got a Pinterest profile, an X profile, a LinkedIn profile, that's essentially four different identities. It's the same email address, but it's different identities. You can't take that data with you from each different application. Trying to get across the fact that you can now have four applications, but bringing one identity with you. And I don't know if you could see on my camera, but I'm like pointing to like my fingers right now. Bringing your one identity with you and all that data that it stores to each different application that you visit across the web is extremely compelling.
Okay. And what part do you see Magic and the team behind it playing and making that happen?
By sitting behind the scenes and being invisible, which is
Okay.
is what we do. We want you to log in and get a wallet, or I like to call them profiles in many cases, and have no idea what it's actually doing in the background. You simply just get to interact with the elements and the assets that are inside of your wallet or your profile without getting freaked out about all of the technology and infrastructure behind it.
Okay. And one other thing I wanted to ask about, like, as a person who's a head of partnerships, who's out there interacting with brands and interacting with other entities that are building in this space. Do you think at this stage in the game that businesses still see Web3 and blockchain as key priorities for developing their businesses for the future?
It depends on who you're talking to and in what department they're in. All activity on chain is public knowledge, and so it's very clear that large brands have really taken a backseat to building on chain and have focused more on AI. Now, with that being said, I've been seeing a massive influx in developers, specifically on the consumer side of the house, that are building applications and really communities from the ground up. And so I am now seeing a world where we're not going to get mass adoption from Nike just sort of flipping a switch and saying, we've onboarded our users. And it's going to be more of a grounds up approach where you're going to have individual and independent developers building products that are for niche communities, but slowly ladder up to more mainstream adoption.
Okay. And to that end, what's next for the Magic team? Do you have any other exciting rollouts or announcements in the works?
Yeah. So, most loaded question of the day. And I will just say that we are very excited about abstracting away all of the infrastructure to the end user.
Okay.
Period.
Okay. So we could go on, but unfortunately we're starting to run out of time here. And before we close off, I'd like to remind our viewers we're giving away 25 Tez today. To enter, just type the keyword !magic in the comments below this video on X. For those who miss out today, we remind you there are awesome giveaways to be found frequently here on TezTalks Live, so keep tuning in. If you'd like to get in touch with us, our social media contacts can be found at tezoscommons.org/TezTalks. We'd love to hear from you. Dylan, thanks so much for joining us today. It's always awesome to speak to the folks integrating powerful tools like Magic here in the Tezos ecosystem and helping us realize our vision for a Tezos-powered future. Is there anything else you'd like to mention before we sign off here?
Thank you for having me on, giving myself and Magic a platform to share our story and to share our integration with you. I genuinely appreciate it, and I wish you a great rest of your week.
It's our pleasure. We'd love to do it again as things continue to progress along.
Cool. Thank you.
To everyone out there in Tezos land, thanks for joining us on TezTalks Live. I'm Stu from the Tezos Commons, and our awesome guest has been Dylan Haddam, Head of Partnerships at Magic. Now let's go get integrated.